line. And very happy to turn it over to Swapnil to get a little bit deeper on the work that they do, and then come back around to questions. Certainly feel free in the chat as well if you'd like to raise something. Pramit?
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
Oh, there you are, Swapnil. Great.
Yeah. Sorry. I had an issue with my internet. Yeah. So I think, thank you, Chris. So I think Chris gave a very, how do I say? I mean, at the time, TechSoup has a very global perspective of working with nonprofits around the globe. And I think one thing which Chris pointed out was very specifically was that the problem is not that we solve for one nonprofit or a one individual organization. The idea is that collectively, can you build something which is useful for everyone, right? And you don't have to spend the same resources again and again on the, different organizations for the same requirement or the same piece. So I think I'll try and answer those questions and what I think draw parallels to what Chris obviously talked about with our work, which is largely based in India, and how in these last 5 years, what are our experiences when we have been working with different nonprofits, different social enterprises around the same thing. Just a hygiene check. Are you guys able to view my screen?
Okay, yes.
I can see.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So I think I don't want to talk about Dhwani here, but I think I'm just trying to give you a background that where I'm coming from, that whatever I am telling you today is based on the experience what we have working with different organizations. So in these last 5 years, we have worked with all types of social enterprise, social impact organizations, whether it's government, whether it's nonprofits, or whether it is impact investors or small nonprofits, and in around different domains, whether it's education, livelihood, governance, everything. And how we started, or what was our motivation behind this, was that after graduating from IRMA, which is like a rural or a social development institution, academic institution, we saw that organizations in the sector, if you compare to mainstream organizations in business, are not able to leverage technology so much as a mainstream organization would do. Right? A car retailer or a car distributor in your city would have a CRM or would have an MIS who would measure what's happening, how many, which car is being selling like a hot cake, how many customers are there, who is due for insurance renewal and things like that. But if you see a nonprofit, they work with very large beneficiaries or communities. So, and they don't have basic stuff like a centralized data management system or things like that. So I think those questions initially was something which was interesting to us, and we wanted to see what is the problem there. So one thing which stood out was, I think that there are technology organizations, there are technology institutions that you may reach out to. There are a lot of IT companies which you can reach out to, but the problem is that it's not that you need to code the software or you build the software. The problem lies in what do you really need? Can you define that what you need? Can you draw a block diagram of your requirement and give it to an IT person, give it to a software developer, then who can understand? So I think the idea is that a lot of organizations need a lot of consulting support, need a lot of process consulting where someone can help them to realize that what is the requirement, and then ultimately it can be, it can be given a shape of a software or an application. Just to tell you that these are the type of organizations we work with, ranging from CSR to foundations, to philanthropies, to M&E agencies and other network organizations. So before I go into the next leg of my organization, my presentation, I'll just try and ask just do a quick quiz. Yeah. So in your chat, you would see a link. If everyone can just click on it and answer it, it will just help us to know the background. I'm hoping that, okay, I'm sorry. Can everyone see it now? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I will just spend 2 minutes on this, and if everyone can just start answering the first question, which is that which one of these options describes you best as an organization. The first is you use a lot of tech applications and you're decently satisfied with it. The second one says You use a lot of tech applications but not satisfied. The third one stage is just started your digitization journey, maybe due to COVID or maybe due to other reasons. And the fourth one is that you use basic tools. Are people able to answer? I'm not sure why we're not able to. Yeah, okay, great. So, okay. Great. Okay. Request everyone to answer it. Mhm. Okay, so I think largely people seem to be in the first bucket and the third and the, I mean, okay, now there's a tie between the first and the third, but people are saying that they just started the digitization journey and people are saying, okay, okay, should wait for that. Okay, okay, seems to be like a tie where people are saying they're decently satisfied also, the people are saying that they're not satisfied, there are people who amongst us who have just started their digitization journey, and people, I mean, it's a good mix of all kind of organizations. So I think I'll try and tailor my content according to that. Okay. On the same link, if you see, you would be able to see the second question. Yeah, okay, okay, people have also already started answering that. Okay, so because of COVID, everyone, I mean, okay, so most of the lot is saying that for their organization, digitization has become very important, right? Hmm, hmm, hmm. Okay, so moving ahead, I think I don't have much time to spend on this, but I think one key takeaway is that I think this pandemic has, I mean, forced us and forced every one of us to start thinking on a digitization journey. And a lot of physical interactions which we do, which we used to do with our communities or field teams have obviously been taken away from us. So I think the only tool which we have is something to use as a digital tool, right? So I think I was just trying to establish that for how, I mean, for each one of you or for how many of organizations amongst us, technology or digitization is important, right? I just wanted to establish that, and I just wanted to know how much it is true. Okay, so on the screen here, what you see is what we call is the data and technology landscape in the social sector. And this is all currently our bias. I mean, this is as per our point of view. And this is based on the fact that in these last 5 to 6 years, organizations who have come to us, whatever the kind of requirements they come to us, so we have tried and bucket them into these four categories or these four buckets. The first is where a lot of organizations come to us for office automation requirements. So what we mean by office automation is pretty standard stuff like your HRMSs, your leave management system, your accounting, your payroll, your website, your email and communication, and social media. So our take to this is that if you see the processes of this, specifically if you see to a geography, they are pretty much standard. So what I mean to say is accounting, which follows in, I mean, any part of India would be same, right? It's not going to be different. The compliances are same. If you see HRMSs like your leave management, your payroll, your PF, your ESIC, everything remains same. So if the processes on the ground are same, you will be able to see a lot of tools or open source applications which are already out there in the market. So our take also to this first bucket is that we should not try and build something from scratch or a custom thing, because this is something which is very standard, and you would obviously
While we wait for Swapnil to reconnect, perhaps just a couple of points to complement what he said. I mentioned, I think, perhaps we did a survey this summer, including through the Ashoka Institute, looking at data handling, exactly this point that Swapnil was making about sort of the different ways organizations are capturing data, managing data, presenting data, et cetera. And what it was very interesting to see that, the overwhelming majority, I mean, essentially 100% of all the NGOs that we reached do, of course, capture some sorts of data. What we were digging into is how are they capturing it? Are they capturing it using spreadsheets, mobile devices, phone calls? How are they really taking in data? And a very large percentage still of civil society, again, not horribly surprising, is capturing data using very analog tools. They're using pen and paper. We ran a similar survey in South America a couple of years ago, like 18 months ago, and there was a question, how do you store your donor data? And of the organizations that responded, there was a question that was D, which was initially the surveyor thought was kind of a joke question, which was, we store our donor data in a notebook in a desk. That was 23% of the NGOs that responded. Okay, some people can get pejorative about that, can be patronizing about it. The reality is that it's a fact. There are a lot of NGOs that we work with who are still capturing their data very, very manually, which is okay until I think some of the things that Swapnil was getting at, how organizations might start to automate some of these data stores, how they might start to really gain efficiencies by capturing data in ways that it can be digitally transferred between different solutions and try to lower their cost of business. But Swapnil, I see you're back. Do you want to jump in?
Yeah, sorry. I think I don't know why my internet is throwing some tantrums. Okay, so I think, yeah, thank you, Chris. I think for picking this up. Yes, I think yes. So I think, as I was saying, the first bucket really is not something which we should break our heads or I mean, we should spend a lot of time, because this is very straightforward, and we should try and use systems which are already available. Right. Okay. On the second part is something which is very core to an organization or to a project, is project monitoring. So I'll give you an example with this. So for example, let's say it is a project. Let's say, okay, so I'll give you an example. So a foundation or a CSR came to us, and they said that they have adopted some Anganwadis, which is Indian Child Care Centers. They have adopted some of them, and it's all spread across India. But in order to manage this project or a program, if you may say, they need a technology solution so that they can monitor what's happening on the ground. So for example, if there are operational indicators are that they want to renovate the Anganwadi centers, they want to ensure that the midday meals are being given, they want to ensure that children are coming, they want to ensure that teachers are coming, they want to ensure that some part of, let's say, teaching or pedagogy is happening on those, I mean, simple, whatever at a primary level or a lower primary level are happening. All of this, if they want to ensure, we're not talking about impact yet, we're just talking about operational parameters. So for example, if it had been a business, someone would be interested in, hey, what are my sales? What are my costs? So similarly, if it is a program, there are many operational parameters of the program which you want to monitor. And just because the scale is so large, or you want to build accountability from day one, or you want to build transparency, a lot of organizations would want to go with a technology solution. Now, a technology solution could be a mobile-based, it could be a web-based, it could be something like people on a WhatsApp, like a chatbot, or it could be an IVR-based. Those are different channels. But the idea is that why do you want to do is because at the backend, or the objective is that you want to get on your operational parameters of the program. So that is the project monitoring. So you typically want to know how many beneficiaries, how many community members, which my field person is doing what, and all of that, how my finances are going on. If the donor has given me X rupees for travel, am I exceeding that? How much I'm utilizing, and all that stuff. So that is the second part which comes in as project monitoring. The third is M&E and social impact. Now, if you talk about M&E and social impact, I mean, typically, so if we see the same example of what you say, Anganwadis, now I would want to know that earlier, because when I think that foundation had not stepped in, or the foundation has not taken up that program, what was the impact? Let's say how many people were coming in, how many people were getting midday meals. So typically you would want to do a pre and a post assessment, or you may want to call it a baseline or a midline, right? You want to define your impact parameters, that because of your intervention, let's say the health of those children have improved, right? Because you had measured their what do you say, anthropometric measures, right? That how are they stunted, or are they going into malnutrition and all of that. So you would want to measure their impact. So typically project monitoring and social impact, when we talk about whatever you may call it, people look it from both these lenses, right? They look from both the lenses. They look from a project monitoring lens also, and they look from a social impact lens also, right? And often these indicators, or often these reporting requirements, and accordingly the data input requirements are put in, so that whatever the application you develop, and when the data starts coming in, and the moment you start seeing the reports or dashboards, you are able to analyze the program from both of these lenses. The first is the project monitoring, and second is your social impact. In the social impact, you will also want to align it to SDGs or your PPIs or any global reporting frameworks. The fourth is your outreach, right? Why I've kept it different is because a lot of organization, because of their program requirement, a lot of people would just want to establish a communication platform, right? So for example, a recent example is that a nonprofit reached out to us, and they want to establish a WhatsApp based communication mechanism, so that they can spread, or they can communicate with their community resource people, right, the intermediaries, on, let's say, sexual and reproductive health, or some other health topics, which can be further uh, so that they can, I mean, those health functionaries or para health workers can spread those topics further to the beneficiaries, right? So what they need to do is they need to get on a platform, so that they can share some videos, they can share some images, and then those your field functionaries can share it with the communities. Or maybe I mean, there are examples where you want to build a comfortable chat platform with adolescents, where adolescents can ask you some questions, or it could be a grievance mechanism where farmers are raising grievance, or farmers are asking questions about agriculture, right? So these are examples of a platform. These are where you want to build a communication platform, a two-way communication platform, where both the parties, one at the one end, it could be your community resource people or your beneficiaries, at the other end could be your organization, can communicate with each other. So typical examples are your chatbots, or examples are IVR. Earlier we used to have a lot of SMS blast and all of that. So I mean, just trying and converge all of this, that whatever we get as a requirement, we try and bucket them into these four, and see that what approach we should take. In the first bucket, our approach is that we should never go for a customized or something which is from scratch. Okay, and I mean, we all know that once we build all of these solutions, it would help us in building efficiency, it would help us in building accountability, compliance, and all of that. So these keywords are ICT for D, Tech for Good, ICT for S. These are keywords which are now buzzwords in this domain. I mean, you would see all of this whenever someone wants to talk about technology and social. Okay, coming to the next slide. These are some of the examples of the new age things which are coming up, where you see how is AI, or how is ML, or how is IoT being used in the social context. So the first example is from a child growth monitor, and open source system funded by Microsoft and run by a German organization, wherein if you want to measure the anthropometric measures, right, the length, height for weight, and length for weight, and middle arm circumference, you could use a mobile phone, go 360-degree around a child, and based on the repository they have of people, they would be able to estimate and tell you that whether the child is malnourished, or the child is okay. I mean, based on the technical terms. Otherwise, how do you see? You know that in Anganwadis, people would carry physical weight balances, physical scales to measure this stuff, and then they would have to enter data into Excel, and then someone would enter data into an app and something like that. So I'm just trying to give you an example that how AI or ML or where we say emerging technologies are being used in the social sector. Second is an example of Khushi Baby, which is a non-profit which is operating out of, I mean, I know they're working with Seva Mandir Udaipur in Rajasthan, where what they have done is the typical problem of identifying a beneficiary, uniquely identifying a beneficiary. I'm sure in your, let's say, technology applications also, you would have faced a problem. So for example, if one time you have profiled Swapnil, and next time if you want to go to Swapnil and ask for anything else, right? For example, if you have profiled one expecting mother at the start of her pregnancy, the trimester 1, and you want to go again, how would you uniquely identify her? Because you can't take Aadhaar now as a unique identifier. There's no other unique identifier in India, right? Phone numbers you may capture, but people change phone numbers. Date of birth, people don't remember exactly and all of that. And imagine with babies, it is a much larger problem, right? So what they did was they created a locket, which is, or pendant, which is culturally accepted in the society, and they placed an RFID tag in that. So the next time the data collection person comes, they would just tap their mobile phone on that locket, and then the locket will tell that, okay, this child is 001, 002, 003, and the previous profile will be fetched in, and then you can update that profile. So these are some examples. I mean, so I'm not recommending them. I am not vouching for them. I'm just giving you an example that how technologies, emerging tech is being used in the social or the development context. Then the third picture which you see is a picture of how you identify diseases in crops. So if you click a photo of any of your agricultural produce based on the data bank, I may be able to tell you that, hey, this looks like this disease, because I have a lot of pictures. My computer program would compare those pictures and would tell you. What is the efficiency? How accurate would I be able to tell you? It depends upon a variety of factors. But what I'm trying to say is that these are things which are now happening. Then the entire India stack, which has opened up, right? That Aadhaar, DigiLocker, eKYC, UPI, which helps. Primarily, it is being used in a lot of financial inclusion in India. Then the last is, which is very popular nowadays, is WhatsApp chatbot, right? So because WhatsApp being very, very popular, and a lot of people don't want to download any other app, and they're so conversant and so habituated with WhatsApp that a lot of organizations are trying to see that whatever we want to do, if we can do it on WhatsApp, the time and energy we would spend on onboarding and helping them to learn would drastically reduce. And we have also seen that in some of our deployments. Okay. The next slide here is which I talk about. The next slide here is I talk about is that how do you decide that what technology you would use, and it primarily depends upon that what stage of maturity you are as an organization. So the bottom pyramid is wherein you say that you are at a basic technology level, and it's completely okay, right? So how do we define those organizations are? If you are at a stage that you have just started your process, or you are experimenting with your program or a project, there you don't need to hire a technology vendor or a technology and look for a technology program. You may use with Zoho, you may use start using Gmail, Zoho. When I say Gmail, I mean the Google Stack or Dropbox or things like that, or open source CRM, so that you can just start experiencing what a technology would look like. And there's a very high possibility that what would happen is that your program may undergo a lot of process change, right? So it's better that you only use some simple application technology tools, and then try and go for second level, which is where you find something like a Zoho or something like Freshdesk or things like that. So wherever you can find SaaS or freemium models. The second tier is when you start realizing that your Excel or your simple Google Sheets are not serving your need. You need something which is one notch higher. You need some workflows, you need some permissions and all of that. So in that case, also, I would say that you should not again go for hiring someone as a technology vendor and started building something from scratch. So I think the entire idea is that first we should try and explore products or platforms which are already available in the market and are available at a low cost, or let's say at a freemium or at a open source cost, so that you can start experiencing them. And when you want to build your own customized platform, you know exactly what you want and what you don't want. because you have tried 2-3 systems. So you know that these things don't fit your bill. And this is the thing which I now want. So that is the third level. When you have experienced a Google Sheet, you know that why Google Sheet or Excel is not solving my problem. You know why a Zoho CRM is not solving your problem. That is why you want to go and hire someone as a technology vendor and get your application built. So that is the third level. Now, if you try and mature from your third level, this is the fourth level where organizations, I mean, I can take some examples, someone like a Pradhan or someone like an Aga Khan would in their last span of 15-20 years would have built, I don't know, 15-20-30 different applications, right? So they would have built an application in education, they would have built an application in livelihood, they would build an application in something else. But now they realize that there is no exchange in all of these, right? So if you want to know how many common beneficiaries are there in first or second, you don't have. So you need an overarching platform, or now you are thinking from a platform approach where you say that, no, I will build only one platform and these will be my assets, right? So education will be one module, livelihood would be one module, and the thing will be one module. So that is the fourth level where you say that you are at a platform thinking approach, and you're putting technology at a core, and all your processes and all your programs would be built around that. So that is the fourth one. I just want to do a quick time check. Pramit, how much time more we have?
We have time till 6:28.
Okay. So I have 15 minutes more. Okay. Thank you. There's some messages in the chat. Okay. So now, So now the next part is where we want to see that if you are thinking of building a technology solution from scratch, these are some 4 areas which, I mean, I just wanted to demonstrate or mention so that we can just think about it. And this is also coming from our experience that what are the major problems which happens. The first one here is that we have to ensure that we design with the user. I mean, it seems very logical or it seems very no-brainer, but I'll tell you that a lot of organizations miss it. I mean, a lot of organizations miss it. So what I mean here is that most of the applications or most of the software which we develop for the nonprofits or for the social sector organizations here in India largely depend upon that someone from the field or someone from the communities would enter data, right? So then your individual beneficiary or your community resource person becomes your primary user. And in most of the cases, when we are designing this application, they are not consulted. So what I mean by they're not consulted is that people from the leadership or people from the management would try and come up and say, hey, we want an application because we're not able to track or we're not able to monitor what's happening. So let's hire someone, let's write an RFP and let's do that. So all the application, everything is being designed and developed in the office or the central office or in the boardrooms. And when it gets to the user, the person who would be using it, it's almost 80-90% finalized, right? And when the person sees it, he's like that, I'm not able to use it, or I'm not, because this is too much work for me, right? I'll not be able to do it. So the problem lies is that your entire, architecture or entire application which you would have thought of goes for a toss, because the first and the foremost entry point of that application is that someone has to enter data. And if that person, you don't have a buy-in from that person, if that person doesn't see this as that this is a part of their job, and they see it that this is something extra they have to do, that software project, you would never be able to see the light of the day. Because, and we have seen a lot of failures in that, wherein you would be chasing your field teams to enter data or asking them to getting adopted, but they will never do that. Instead, if we try and include them in the design stage and try and address and see that what are the things we build in this app or we build in this whatever software which you are building, so that their work becomes easier, or at least it is built from their point of view, and if there is a buy-in from day one, you would see that those people whom you have included in the design team, they will become your people's champion. and they will advocate the use of the software or the app amongst other their peers, right? And we have seen this, that like a group of 5, 10, let's say community people from all over India, if you have included them in the design, they would become the change agents and help other people in their respective geographies, whether a district or a village or a block, and ask people to adopt it because they know that it is being built from their point of view and it is going to help them only in their process. That is the first thing. Second is that we have to ensure that the business workflow alignment is proper. A lot of cases, what happens is people come to us and say, hey, we need an app, hey, we need a software. And when you ask them that, okay, fine, you need a software or you need an app, can you help us and describe what is the process flow? So when I say what is a process flow, I mean what will happen as a step-by-step process. So like an example I was giving you for an Anganwadi, if you want to build an app and you're not able to tell me that as a block diagram or as a process flow, that first person will log in and then the person should go to an Anganwadi, should click a photo, then this should happen, then this should happen, then accordingly the data would come in, then someone would approve it. So the idea is that before you try and engage a software vendor, internal clarity on the business workflow alignment or the process workflow alignment is very necessary. I mean, you can do it with the technology vendor also, but it is always preferable and it is always beneficial that you, if you would have done it firsthand, if you would have taken approval internally with all your stakeholders, it would really help you. So that is the second case. I mean, all of these might seem very, again, I'm saying as a no-brainer or logical, but in our experience, we have seen that we spend a lot of money, we spend a lot of resources in building these software applications, and they never succeed because that these basic things were missing, right? That because if someone is a technology vendor and you say, hey, do this like this, they would do it, right? And they would launch it because their scope of work was that you would have told them that, hey, this is the business flow. But if you would have not thought through that business flow, if they build it, and the next time you go and say, no, this needs a change or this needs some enhancement or something, I mean, it is going to cost you both time, money, and everything, right? That is second. The third is the sign off from all stakeholders. Now, this is important specifically from the leadership team. So again, I mean, this is again anecdotal, which I'm all telling you, that we have seen that what happens is that the program teams are mostly aligned, but someone like a senior leadership, like a CEO or at a CXO level or someone at a donor level, they are not involved in the design process or everything. So as a result, what happens is once the system is being built, and when you, I mean, and let's say there's a demo or you are showcasing it to the donor or a senior leadership, they would ask for some KPIs or some indicators which were not there, right? So they would say, hey, can I see this? Hey, can I know what is the unique beneficiary? So what would happen is that in most of those times, there's a misalignment. So it's not like that it's just a report or a dashboard that you would ask the vendor and he would build up. In most of the cases, it happens is that those things were not thought of as a part of an architecture or as a part of that you have to collect these data points or you have to collect these parameters. So then it again goes back to the drawing board where you again talk to the people and say, no, we want to change it because now the leadership wants it or the donor wants it. So I'm just trying to say that before we go and hire or before we get into developing something, we should try and see that everyone, I mean, the stakeholders, whether it is a donor, whether it is a leadership team, everyone is aligned. That is the third point. The fourth one is the proper change management. So I think, so change management, I would just describe it in two scenarios. One scenario is that earlier people were not using anything. I mean, any technology, they were simply using pen and paper or Excel or something like that. And you have introduced an app or you have introduced a software. That is like the first case. The second case is that they were already using some software and now you have introduced a new software because there were some problems in the earlier software. So in the first case, people are very enthusiastic. People are very forthcoming that, hey, something new is coming. We would be using an app now, or we would be using a software now, and they're very excited about it. So there, the change management is easy because people want to use it. and they're looking forward to something new. But we have to give appropriate time and hand holding so that people can adapt to it. I mean, it's not like that we can just launch a software and expect everyone to just build on it, right? I mean, you have to give them time and a lot of hand holding. With a lot of empathy, you have to see that they get on board with it. That is in the first case. In the second case, it becomes more difficult because what happens is if you're changing the software, there's a high probability there was some problem with the previous software. So a lot of users are already frustrated about it, right? And when the new software comes, they already have a lot of preconceived notions that, oh, the new software is also going to be like that. And they start comparing each and everything with it, right? So in the second case, you have to deal with it. I mean, you have to deal in a different way. So in both the cases, we have seen success. Again, goes to the first point that the ultimate users, if we try and include them in the design phase, so if they are involved, if they know that, oh, this software which I was using was not good, and now I'm working with this company and they're trying and helping us to build a new software. So if I give my inputs, so this person knows that they are being considered, their buy-in is there. So and then that the change management, you would not see a lot of problem. So yes, so I think these were the 4 points which I wanted to talk about specifically. I mean, very straight from the point where we have seen a lot of problems, and I can give you a lot of case studies and anecdotes about it. So yeah.
Thank you, Swapnil. Can we ask audiences or participants to ask some questions if they have any?
Yeah. I think we don't have
5 more minutes.
Yeah.
Sure. Hello, Chris and Swapnil. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. This is Sajjan, and I represent MHAT, Mental Health Action Trust, based out of Calicut in Kerala. So I think very relevant points both of you have shared. And particularly post-COVID, we had a lot of need for technology. See, we work in the community with a team of psychiatrists, psychologists, mental health workers, and volunteers. And there is very less capacity to immediately adopt technology. So from a management perspective, we absolutely recognize that technology can add value. However, the people are extremely focused on community-based work, which is going to the villages, meeting with clients, screening them, and then doing their clinical reviews, etc., etc. In every level, there is an opportunity for us to introduce technology. But the problem really for us is, one, the extremely high entry costs that many of these providers basically they price this technology for pretty much based on a for-profit companies. So, for example, Zoho. We evaluated them; they were extremely high. So similarly, we tried a lot of other options too. So presently, we have an opportunity to introduce technology for, let's say, leave application. Leave approvals. So what we finally come up with is we use Google Sheets with a plugin called Form Publisher. So what happens is we can quickly configure it to make people apply for leave. And they have a supervisor. It goes to the supervisor as an email for approval. And that an email is triggered back and forth, and finally the approval happens. So, but for us, the problem is this is a very low cost technology, but still for us, we had to get someone to learn how to use the technology and then train all of the employees to do it. Even a basic thing like ensuring everyone uses an MHAT Kerala, which is our organization-based email, has not been easy. We started around 4 months back. There are still people who haven't adopted it. So, summary is, I think if you can talk a bit about how do we deal with these challenges. One is a workforce who's not generally ready to adopt technology because they're completely oriented towards community-based work. Two is the extremely high entry costs that technology providers provide. And even when we introduce this technology, the extreme, the managing the change, of course, you had talked a bit about it, but if you can talk a little bit more, how do we kind of deal with these?
Okay. So I think I'll just answer this in two parts. I think, I mean, we can connect offline if you want more on that, but I'll just answer this in two parts. So one is, I think when you're saying that people, I mean, onboarding them with technology is difficult because they are more interested in the, let's say the community-based work. I think I would say there's no specific answer to that apart from that you will have to ask them to learn, I mean, empathetically work with them to see that how they get onboarded. Other things which people have tried now is that there might be certain things which are already habituated. So like I was giving you an example that in a recent deployment, we were trying to build an app, but then we realized that people were already using WhatsApp and they was very conversant about WhatsApp. So we've shifted our entire thing and we built it on WhatsApp. So and obviously everything can't be built on WhatsApp, but I'm trying to give you one example that those are the things which you can do. Second, coming to cost, I think costs are subjective. I'm not sure what budget or what range you have in mind. But for nonprofits, I would say there are a lot of opportunities, there are a lot of funds, there are a lot of people who are willing to fund nonprofits specifically from technology point of view. I mean, so those organizations or those entities realize that technology is the important piece in the entire capacity building or in the organization, and they fund you. I mean, a lot of organizations like Zoho or someone also have a different pricing model as well. And there are also a lot of organizations who would fund you to implement something. So I would say at the scale which you are or at the level which you are, we should look for something like an open source or something like a freemium models and see how it can work.
Thank you, Swapnil.
Yeah, I know we're really out of time. The answer, I think, is that was a great answer. For us, not a short answer, not an easy answer, but starting with building trust in technology. You know, we have to be honest that a lot of staff people do not trust technology, and they've been forced to use technologies that haven't been helpful. They've created more pain than they've alleviated. So looking at ways to start solving immediate pain points so they begin building trust, ways that it starts generating data, ways that you then also look at incentivizing, sort of carrot and stick, make it something that helps people build trust and increase their profile, but then back it up with a policy, something that you don't have a choice, that as an organization, you're moving in this direction. It's slow work. It really is slow work to create digital cultures at organization, and it is culture change. It's not just a tool. It really is a new behavior set and value for the work. So I look to ways that I might share some things on that later through, you know, blogs or whatever, but happy to share. I know, again, we're out of time, unfortunately.
Thank you so much, Chris, Swapnil, for your extremely valuable talk and suggestions. I think this is definitely a great primer session on how organizations can build a roadmap for their own digital transformation. We'll be moving on to the next session. We're taken up by Apar Gupta, the founder of Internet Freedom Foundation. The link I have shared it on chat. Please feel free to move ahead. And thank you for your participation. Thank you so much.